what, pod people, and Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah, Blessed Yule, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate, happy holidays from us to you, and welcome to the Wheel of Time Pod-Thru.
Yes, welcome.
I'm Teresa.
And I'm Tim.
And together, we're going to walk through Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time book series. How you doing today, Tim?
I'm feeling festive. How about you?
Same. It's Christmas. Before we get started, we just want to remind you that this is a reread, so there will be spoilers. You have been warned. All right, Tim, what are we going to be doing in today's episode?
Well, today we have one of our rare 3-chapter episodes, and we're going to be talking all about the ways.
All right.
We got a lot to cover, so let's get started with chapter 43, which is called Decisions and Apparitions. And the icon is the dragon's fang.
Here's a quick summary of Chapter 43 to act as a reminder for those of you who are not reading along with us. We pick up where we left off in the last chapter, with Loyal saying that if they go into the ways, they will die. Rand wants to know why, and Loyal explains what the ways are. Loyal says that back during the breaking, the male Aes Sedai, who had not yet succumbed to the madness, found sanctuary in the Ogier setting. But because they could not even sense the source there, they eventually couldn't stand the separation and had to leave. Before they left, they gifted the Ogier with the ways as a thank you. Time and distance work differently in the ways, so the Ogier were able to cross great distances and avoid the trauma of traveling through the world still in the midst of being broken. The male Aes Sedai gave the Ogier elders a talisman that could be used to grow new waygates, and as the long wandering and exile ended, the Ogier grew waygates to the steading that were found, and to the groves in the cities the Ogiers built to stave off the longing. Because the waygates were outside the steading and made by the tainted male half of the power, they began to change. They grew dank and dim. Some who went in were never seen again. Travelers spoke of being watched from the dark, and some who came out had gone mad, raving about Machin Shin, the Black Wind. The Ogier elders passed an edict that no one can use the ways. Loyal asks Moraine why he should defy the elders, and she replies that there is enough power in the eye of the world to undo the Dark One's prison. If he has found some way to use it, they're all screwed. Moraine makes an impassioned speech about the pattern and trying their best to fight the Dark One, and then everyone starts declaring themselves. Loyal hesitates and asks again if it has to be the ways. Moraine nods, and he finally agrees. Their choice made, they get down to business and get the serious planning done. Rand pulls Egwene aside to try to convince her not to go, but she gently tells him that she is part of the pattern too. They have a really sweet moment until she ruins it by being dumb. They plan late into the night, and when they all finally go to bed, we enter another Baalzamon dream. Rand finds 3 faceless figures, one with a wolf, one with a dagger, and one with a sword. Baalzamon tells Rand that the time for hiding is over. We get his usual threats and taunts. He tells Rand that the Black Aja is real and questions Rand if he's sure that the Aes Sedai helping him aren't part of it. Rand denies him repeatedly, and there's a somewhat violent exit from the dream where Rand's hand gets stabbed. When he wakes, Rand sees that Mat is also having a nightmare. He wakes Mat, who is freaking out, because in his dream, he picked up the figure with the dagger, so now Baalzamon knows him. Rand realizes that the thing that stabbed him in his dream is still in his hand. Moraine arrives to tell them that it is time to go, and when she sees their faces, she asks if they had bad dreams again. They tell her what happened, and she heals Rand's hand. Then she tells them to hurry, because time grows short.
I wonder if Moraine has Loyal explain the ways to give her some time to consider their next move. I mean, she concedes the floor really easily and doesn't mind how long-winded of an explanation Loyal gives. Well, doesn't mind it too much, but it's like, do you think she intentionally is like trying to stall for time while she thinks of the next move?
Maybe, but I mean, there is some validity to her saying, you know, you're an Ogier, so this is your story to tell. You know?
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe.
All right. It's not a big deal. I was just wondering.
So we talked about the Reds having a beef with the Ogier in the last episode.
Yes.
And Moraine explains that some Aes Sedai believe that the Ogier sanctuary prolonged the breaking and made it worse. And then others say that if all of those men had been allowed to go mad at once, there would have been nothing left of the world.
Right.
And she reassures Loyal that she's blue and not red, So she thinks that Sanctuary helped save what could be saved. And personally, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's validity to both sides. I mean, it's true that giving the male Aes Sedai Sanctuary did prolong the breaking, absolutely. But I agree that if all of those men had been let loose at the same time, the destruction would have been so catastrophic, there wouldn't have been a world to save.
Yeah, it would have been an extinction level catastrophe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree that there would have been no coming back from it. But, I mean, there is validity on both sides.
Yeah. The description of the Aes Sedai and the Steading not being able to accept isolation always makes me flash back to that feeling of loss that Egwene experienced when she and Perrin entered the Steading in previous chapters. Imagine living your life being able to channel and constantly sense the power that you can tap at any time and then be cut off from it so you can't even feel if it exists. And then knowing all you have to do to get it back is to step out of the Steading. The temptation must have just been too strong for them. And I get how that can feel really isolating and terrifying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense that the men weren't able to resist leaving the Steading.
Yeah.
Like, it's sad, but it makes perfect sense. So I just want to read Loyal's description of the ways, because I really like it. Enter a way gate, walk for a day, and you may depart through another way gate 100 miles from where you started, or 500. Time and distance are strange in the ways. Different paths, different bridges, lead to different places, and how long it takes to get there depends on which path you take. It was a marvelous gift, made more so by the times, for the ways are not part of the world we see around us, nor perhaps of any world outside themselves. Not only did the Ogier so gifted not have to travel through the world, where even after the breaking, men fought like animals to live in order to reach another Steading, but within the ways, there was no breaking. The land between two Steading might split open into deep canyons or rise in mountain ranges, but in the ways between them, there was no change. So I've been critical of the way that Jordan has handled exposition in previous chapters, in certain parts of the book. But Loyal's entire recounting of the history of the ways is masterfully done.
Yeah.
It's exposition at its best. And it reminds me of way back at the beginning of the book when Moraine gives the history of Mena Therin.
Yeah.
Like, exposition does not have to be info dumpy. And I want to give credit where credit is due. Like, this is done well.
I agree. I like
Yeah.
this whole thing with the ways.
Yeah. Yeah, like, I'm not blanketly against exposition.
Lowell tells us that even Aes Sedai healing can't help those who have been affected by Mach and Shen, which makes sense because at this point in the story, the madness caused by the taint is incurable.
Right. So maybe in the future, once Nynaeve figures out how to cure the madness, she might be able to help those who've been affected by Mach and Shin.
That'd be really cool to see.
I don't know if it'll work. Because, like, once you've had your soul sucked out, it can't really put it back in. It depends on what the mechanics of that is.
Right.
But it's possible. That could happen.
It could. Interesting.
Speaking of Nynaeve, she gets her feathers all ruffled, like she does.
Yeah.
And challenges Moraine, saying that she's mad if she expects them to follow her into that mess. So Moraine responds with, which would you choose instead? The white cloaks within Camelin or the Trollocs without? So personally, I'd take the white cloaks.
Right.
I mean, the white cloaks are terrible, but they're just assholes. It's not like they're supernatural forces or literal monsters, Like, they're still human.
Yeah.
So screw those guys. I will choose to fight my way through them. Thank you very much.
Well, we got land. What else do we need?
Right?
Right.
It's like, I mean, Trollocs, no thank you. Myrdle, no. The Black Wind, no, I don't think so. But I can mess up some white cloaks, I tell you what.
I mess them up good, yeah.
I'm just saying. Like that, yes, thank you very much. I will take that option.
Oh, wow.
So when Moraine tells the girls that they have the choice and can go on to Tarvalon instead of going with them, Egwene gives the most Egwene response ever. "Stay behind," Egwene exclaimed. "Let the rest of you go off into danger while we hide under the covers? I won't do it." Okay. So Egwene is not my favorite person, but you can't fault the girl for lack of bravery. Like,
No, you cannot.
She will charge in like a lion with no second thought. And I gotta respect her for that.
With no thought as to what's going to happen. But yes, with no second...
Well, yeah.
Exactly.
No first thought, whatever.
Yeah,
but.
yeah. Egwene, so she's a little frustrating here. Like, first, she's telling Rand that he's sweet for wanting to protect her and discourage her from following them into the Blight. But then she turns a 180 and is snapping at him and going off in a huff while she doesn't believe the explanation of who Elaine is.
Yeah.
Like, it's like Pig Elaine.
Yeah, totally. I cannot wait for Rand and Egwene to realize that they're not meant for each other.
Yeah.
Like, these little misunderstandings just seem so petty and stupid.
Yeah.
Like, can't you just talk to each other like normal people for once? But no.
No, because this is, the Wheel of Time.
Right. Miscommunication and pettiness sort of sums it all up. And now we enter the dream sequence.
Yay.
So we could probably have a debate about whether or not the Baalsman dreams are in Tel'aran'rhiod based on the thing in Rand's hand following him into the real world. And there have been plenty of those arguments over the years that are easy to find online.
Yes, there have.
But as John Green says, I feel like this is a question wrongly asked.
Okay.
Ultimately, I don't know if it matters whether or not they're really the dream world or not. They are what they are in the context of this particular story. And we've already discussed that there are several things that happen in book 1 that don't necessarily hold true for the rest of the series.
Okay.
So whatever your personal opinion is on the subject, we validate you, we support you, we say, shine on, you bright, bright diamond.
Because we're about building a community, not tearing one down.
Exactly.
Exactly.
We are here for each other in love and support and community together. Okay, that's enough love. Anyway.
Right. I don't know. I just feel like the dream sequence in this chapter is kind of over the top.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
I guess the cool thing about it is that Rand learns about the Black Aja.
Uh-huh.
And the fact that Matt and Rand still are having shared dreams is a little creepy because Moraine said that she'd be able to protect them against these bad dreams.
Uh-huh.
But knowing that this is not really the Dark One, it's just a Forsaken playing at it, kind of makes things a little bit lame. Like, it was better the first time I read this, and I didn't know. But now in rereads, I just want to be done with all these sequences and get into the real dream world. Because this is not the Dark One.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I get that. And to be honest, I think Ishmael is a really cool character in his own right. And I feel like this whole pretending to be the Dark One that happens in book 1 kind of takes away from how cool of a character, like a conflicted character he is.
Yeah, it does.
So, yeah, I agree. Like, I'm not fond of Ishmael's storyline in this first book. But, it is what it is. All right, so speaking of the dream, I just want to read what Matt says here when Rand wakes him up, because it is so disturbing. Quote, "He knows who I am, Rand. I picked up the one with the dagger, and he said, 'So that's who you are.' And then I looked again, and the figure had my face. My face, Rand. It looked like flesh. It felt like flesh. Light, help me. I could feel my own hand gripping me, like I was the figure." Wretch. That's so messed up.
Right?
Like, good writing. Really, really good writing, but totally gross. But, the imagery is really vivid.
That is the stuff my nightmares are made of. Wow.
Me no likey. No,
Wow.
no bueno.
So on that note, that wraps up chapter 43. Because this is a 3-chapter episode, we won't have our usual jokey sponsor spot. So I know. But let's charge right into chapter 44. The title is The Dark Along the Ways, and the icon is the leaf.
Master Gil helps the group sneak out of the Queen's blessing in the wee hours of the morning. Matt whispers to Rand that Perrin is acting weird and making him nervous. Rand confirms that he sees it too, but that Moraine seems to know about whatever it is, so they should just let him be. Gil shows them a secret way out of the stable yard to avoid anyone who may be watching. Moraine thanks him and tells him that if he fears any trouble from this, he should write to Sheriam Sedai of the Blue Aja in Tar-Valon, and she will help. They depart through a secret alleyway, and Loyal is able to sense the direction to the Waygate. Eventually, he stops leading them through the city and tells them that the Waygate is under a shop that is still closed up for the night. Moraine finds the cellar door and unlocks it with the power. They all lead their horses down a ramp and crowd into the cellar. Loyal is angry that the trees were murdered in order to build over the land, and in his anger, he nearly brings the building down on top of them. Moraine finds the Avendesora leaf hidden in the stonework, which is the key to open the Waygate. They all stumble their way through the gate because time works differently in the ways. The wheel of time turns faster inside. Moraine closes the gate behind them, and they are in a new kind of dark that tries to swallow up the light from their lanterns. Loyal leads them from guiding to guiding across stone ramps and bridges that defy the laws of physics. This goes on for a while. And Rand is just beginning to think that the ways aren't so bad after all when Loyal comes to a bridge that ends in a jagged gap and they are stuck at a dead end.
I will say it again. I really want to know what random shenanigans Gil and Tom got up to back in a day. Like, Gil has a secret passage exiting out of the end. It's not a convenient plot device. This dude has done some sketchy stuff in his time.
Definitely. I find everything that Loyal says and does completely adorable.
Yeah.
Quote, I don't see why we can't have just one light, the Ogier grumbled. We don't go running about in the dark in the steading. I'm an Ogier, not a cat. Rand had a sudden image of Loyal's tufted ears twitching irritably. Loyal just makes me happy.
Yeah. Even when he's frustrated and not very happy himself, he's just...
Yeah. So Moraine mentioned Sheriam. All right. I don't know if we want to get into a real discussion about her here or wait until we meet her in Tar-Valon. Like, we probably should wait. But I just want to say that I object to her storyline. This is not my first reread, and I am still not 100% sure that I buy her storyline. And that is all that I am going to say right now.
So you're lodging, you are making a statement here of...
I'm bookmarking that I have a complaint.
Okay.
And we will come to it in 3 books.
Noted. 3 books later. They find the Waygate, and Loyal is furious about the trees being cut down. Mm-hmm. And we get this little bit here that says, once trees stood here, every kind of tree that would grow in this place, every kind of tree that Ogier could coax to grow here. The great trees, 100 spans high, shade of branch and cool breeze to catch the smell of the leaf and the flower, and hold the memory of peace of the steadying. All of that murdered for this. His fist thumped a column. The column seemed to shake under the blow. Rand was certain he heard bricks crack. Waterfalls of dry mortar slid down the column. It takes a lot to get an Ogier mad.
Yeah.
Lowell punches the support beam of the structure and does some serious damage without even meaning to.
Yeah.
So this is a not so subtle clue that Ogier can make an extremely formidable adversary. Mm-hmm. But it's so contradictory to their nature. It's so contrary that for them to be aggressive that it's really easy to forget.
Oh yeah, totally.
And I just love that juxtaposition of who the Ogier are. Like, they are capable of great violence, but it's like the last thing they would ever do.
Yeah. I love that he uses the term murdered in reference to the trees.
Right?
Like, the Ogier do not screw around when it comes to trees.
No. So the ways have to be grown. Mm-hmm. And when Moraine takes the stone Avendesora leaf from the Waygate, it reminds me of a couple of episodes back where Lowell said that the Ogier tried to learn how to make the stone come alive with their stonework, but never quite achieved it. Mm-hmm. So this kind of makes me... It looks like the male Aes Sedai learned a thing or two from the Ogier during their time in the Sanctuary, because they created these Waygates to be this way. And it's just... I think it's a great way for them to say thank you. Look what we learned from you guys.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know about you, but I've always imagined an open waygate to look the same as an open Stargate from the movie Stargate, or if you ever watch a TV series. It's like that shimmering reflective surface that you can walk through that looks like a mirror.
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, it's been a really long time since I've seen that movie, but yeah, okay. Loyal is sharing his fears of the ways with Rand, and then Lan tells him not to surrender before he is beaten. And I love Loyal's response to him. He says, "You would not speak so confidently if you had ever been in the ways. I never have before either, but I've seen Ogier who have been through a waygate and come out again. You would not speak so if you had." In other words, you may be a badass soldier, Lan, but you have no idea what you're talking about here. Stay in your lane and take a step back. And I just really love that.
So, all right. I do not like heights.
No.
So driving up the side of a narrow mountain road can be a little unnerving for me. Like driving across a long arching LA freeway overpass makes me really nervous. So the idea of walking in the darkness through the ways on a bridge that looks like it's about to fall apart is something straight out of one of my nightmares. Like the waves, they just creep me out. And we haven't even gotten to the dangerous part yet.
No, we have not.
No.
So the book says, quote, "Something about all of it seemed almost familiar to Rand, but he knew it had to be his imagination groping for anything familiar where everything else was strange." End quote. All right. Back in episode 13, when we were discussing Rand's Baelsman dream in chapter 24, I brought up that the description of the maze of bridges and stairs defying the laws of physics and the rundown murkiness and darkness and the stench of death reminded me really strongly of the ways.
I remember this, yes.
So I'm pretty sure that this is confirmation that Baelsman brought him to a dream version of the ways. And that's why this feels so familiar to him.
Okay, so what you're saying is you were right.
I'm smart, yay!
We knew you were absolutely smart, but you were right, and I guess my MC Escher thing was just
I'm not
wrong.
saying that the MC Escher thing was wrong, because I do think that is a valid comparison. I'm just saying that I'm smart, woohoo!
Woohoo! And we end with another cliffhanger, so onward to chapter 45. What follows in shadow. The icon is the Dragon's Fang again.
Rand looks into the gap left by the broken bridge and can't see any bottom of any kind. He can see across the gap that the bridge isn't being held up by anything at all. Nynaeve demands to know if this means that they have to go all the way back to Caelin, but Moraine is like, calm yourself. Loyal can find another way. Loyal starts to panic that the ways are crumbling even as they speak, but Moraine reassures him that they can plainly see that this is an old break. Loyal tries to divert Moraine into going to a different destination, but she insists on Fal Dara and the Blight. They travel a while longer, then break for the night. They sit to eat, but no one has much of an appetite, and the mood is tense and gloomy. Moraine tries to cheer them up by saying that she does not think Tom Merrilin is dead. The people of Whitebridge would have mentioned a Gleeman dying, and Tom is too important a part of the pattern to be lost already. Rand correctly guesses that Min had a viewing. Matt teases Rand that all Min saw was him, and Egwene is setting up to give him a hard time when Perrin heads her off by mentioning Aram and his dancing. Egwene quickly excuses herself to go to bed, and Rand and Perrin celebrate their victory until Matt throws Elsie Grinwell in Rand's face, and he quickly opts for bed as well. The whole party goes to bed, but sleep does not come. Moraine does a circuit, talking quietly to each of them, and her words calm them enough to sleep. And with her near, Rand did not dream. The next day, they resume their travels, and Lan tells them that something is following them. Loyal and Matt start to lose it a little bit at this news. Because of the taint, Lan can't tell if it is something that serves the shadow. Moraine decides that as long as whatever is following doesn't trouble them, they don't need to mess with it. The next guiding they come to has Trolloc script chiseled into it, and we finally solve the mystery of how the Myrddraal have been moving hordes of Trollocs without anyone noticing. They find some twisted Trolloc bodies half sunken into the stone. Moraine thinks that it is likely that the male Aes Sedai who made the ways built traps to protect them from shadow spawn. She does not think that they are in danger from the traps. Still, she carefully examines every bridge or island before they get on it. They travel this way for a while until Rand realizes that he can hear the wind, and he asks Loyal about it because Loyal mentioned that there is no wind in the ways. Loyal starts to lose it in earnest, talking about Match and Shin, and Moraine commands him to hurry. With 2 guidings left, they break into a gallop, the wind growing louder. They race to the waygate, but the Aventador leaf is gone. Moraine goes full Gandalf with her staff and cuts a big arc in the gate, and Mandarb has a moment of glory as Lan and the huge warhorse crash through it to make an opening. They all gallop after them, stumbling and almost breaking their necks as time caught up with them on the outside. Rand sees Moraine backing out of the waygate, trying to keep the black wind at bay with her staff. They can hear voices on the wind saying icky, nasty stuff. The wind can't pass through the gate, though, so they are safe. They ask what the black wind is, and Moraine says no one is sure. Something that got trapped in the ways long ago, perhaps, or something born from when they went foul. Egwene says she doesn't want to hear anymore, and Moraine says softly that there is worse to be faced yet, but Rand does not think that anyone was meant to hear. Okay, so I love Nynaeve, we know this, but she needs to dial it back a bit. She's so argumentative with Moraine, and this is not the time or place for it. And what's more, she should know that and act better.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I just want to make a quick note that Rand realizes that Perrin looks like a wolf at bay with his golden eyes. This is cool.
For sure. So Rand tells Loyal, when this is over, Loyal, you show me your steading and I'll show you Emond's Field.
Yeah.
No ways, though. We'll walk or ride if it takes all summer. You believe it will ever be over, Rand? He frowned at the Ogier. You said it would take 2 days to reach Faldara. Not the ways, Rand. All the rest. Loyal looked over his shoulder at the Aes Sedai, talking softly with Lan as they rode side by side. What makes you believe it will ever be over? Damn, Loyal, you're supposed to be the perky one. Wow.
Wow, yeah. You know, Loyal may be young for an ogre, but he's really wise.
Yeah.
He knows whatever adventure Rand is on, it's going to be a long one. The Eye of the World is just the beginning, and Loyal may not know what's coming next, but he knows that something will keep him and Rand from taking that tour of each other's home.
Yeah.
The mood is pretty gloomy when they break for the night. So the bad news is that our Aes Sedai can't use her powers because it will be corrupted by the taint in the ways. Even though she's using Sedar, not Seden, the taint from the Dark One is seeping into everything. But the good news is that Moraine thinks Tom is alive. Yay!
Yay.
It's not much of a consolation, being as their Aes Sedai is essentially powerless, but it's nice to see Moraine read the room and make an effort to try to comfort them to kind of lighten the mood as it is.
It is nice, because usually she's like, your fears are not my problem.
Yeah, she's like, I got bigger fish to fry.
Yes. Concern someone else with your problems. But, so it's nice to see her actually care. Okay, everyone could use a little shot in the arm. Okay.
And also, it's bad because when Moraine's trying to comfort everybody.
Yeah. Situation's dire.
And then we interrupt this chapter to bring you petty teen drama.
Yay.
So I like that Perrin calls out Egwene about Aram while she's getting all bent out of shape about Rand talking to men.
Yeah.
Egwene really can't take what she gives. So it's nice to see her fluster for once. And I'm probably projecting future frustrations on her right now, but I like to see her get taken down a peg every now and then. Mm-hmm. But it's also nice to see the balance, that when Rand's little moment of victory is undercut by Mat, so he's hiding in his blankets every bit as much as she is.
Yeah, I do like that there's the balance there.
Yeah.
So everything at the end of this chapter is fantastic writing.
Yeah.
The tension builds from when Lan says that something is following them, and it just gets worse and worse as they first discover the Trollocs and then they hear the wind. Jordan can really do suspense. It's terrifying and fantastic, and I love it.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong. I love this chapter. It's creepy, and the suspense is really well written. But in the moment where Lan says something or someone is following them, I totally flashed to the Lord of the Rings. Specifically the Mines of Moria, when Gandalf reveals that Gollum is following them through the mines. So having said that, I actually prefer the trip through the ways more than the Fellowship's trip through the mines. Like, we still get a lot of details about the state of things in the ways, but we don't get lost in the lore the way that we do in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, totally. So speaking of Gollum, do you want to talk about Padan Fain and Machin Shin?
Yeah.
Because we talked in a previous episode when we were talking about Shadow Logoth about Mordith and the Mashadar and Machin Shin and like the differences and the similarities between the two.
Yeah.
And we got an email from a listener.
We did. A listener named Jason reached out to us and shared some thoughts that I hadn't actually put together before.
Okay.
And I thought was kind of cool. It was a really detailed email, and I want to just break it down in kind of a summary, which works down to Padan Fain is the Dark One's hound. So he's been touched by the Dark One, and he is following the will of the Dark One to find the three.
Yeah.
Or specifically the one once he figures out who it is. Machin Shin is also the product of the Dark One's taint on the ways. So in essence, it's kind of an embodiment of the Dark One's will, so to speak, in a different kind of form. So what happens when Fain follows them into the ways and encounters Machin Shin? They're two similar things.
Like they recognize each other?
They may not recognize each other exactly for who they are, but they recognize who they serve or who they're a part of.
Okay.
And it's the same essence. So that's how Padan Fain is able to survive the ways.
Right. Okay. That makes
Machin
sense.
Shin sees him as like if not
like
a comrade.
friendly.
Yeah, if not actually if not on that level, it's definitely a same essence.
Okay.
You know, and that's also why Machin Shin has it out for Rand in later books. Because anytime
because Machin Shin goes crazy later.
Yeah, anytime Rand tries to enter the ways at all, Machin Shin is all over that and is there and faster than anyone can really anticipate. And it's because they're the same essence. And now that Fain, who's been made the Dark One's hound, has come in contact with Machin Shin, who is the embodiment of the Dark One's taint, now they basically have a shared purpose.
That actually makes sense. That if it's the taint of the Dark One, that it would like accept the Dark One's will, and take it as its own.
Yeah, like I'd never encountered that before. It was I thought it made a lot of sense. So
yeah, thanks a lot, Jason.
Yeah, thank you very much for reaching out to us and just taking the time to email us and then give us like something I'd never been exposed to before. So thanks, Jason. I think the way that Loyal starts to lose it and berate himself in this chapter is pretty funny. Like, we get this great line. Ogier have more sense than to use the ways, Loyal growled. All but Loyal, who has no sense at all. Elder Hammond always said it, and it's true.
Poor Loyal.
Because when Loyal gets nervous, he gets a little bit hysterical and very hypercritical of himself.
Yeah, he does. So, when they find the remains of the Trollocs, it's really traumatic for them, and they're all shuddering and retching, and all I can think of is, oh, sweetie, this is nothing.
No, it's not.
Just you wait. It's going to get so much worse than this. But, level 1 Bowser.
Yeah, wait till we get to Feldara.
Wait till we get to the
dungeons.
Blight. Hello.
Oh, gosh, the Blight, yeah.
Did the stuff that Rand hears with the Black Wind remind you of Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets? Anyone?
Yeah, right.
Rand speaks Parseltongue?
Yeah, totally, Parseltongue.
Or maybe Gnarl from that Buffy episode where no one can see Willow?
Oh, wow.
Of course, The Eye of the World came out before both of those, so no slide on Jordan. All I'm saying is that stripping the flesh and the sweet blood and the pretty sing-song screams is imagery that is used effectively in a variety of places. Although braiding the skin is a new one.
That is a new one.
That one was pretty unique.
Yeah. Thank you for ruining that episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer for me. I don't think I'll ever see that the same way again. Wow.
How were you seeing it before?
I don't know. It's like
Gnarl's pretty messed up.
Gnarl's really messed up, but now like it's connected. Now my fandoms have collided.
Not the first time. Won't be the last. And we finally lose Moraine's staff. Yay!
Yay!
R.I.P. I kind of hated you.
And that ends chapters 43, 44, and 45 of The Eye of the World. Join us next week when we discuss chapters 46 and 47, and we get a crash course on the Borderlands and Faldara.
We hope that you enjoyed this episode of the Wheel of Time Pod-Thru.
We'll see you again next week. Make sure that you rate and subscribe to us on iTunes or wherever you're grabbing your podcasts these days. Maybe leave us a positive review. It really helps us out. You can tweet us at Pod-Thru or email us at whatpodthru@gmail.com. Tell us your thoughts on anything we covered today.
That's WOTPODTHRU@gmail.com. Thanks again, Jason, and Merry Christmas, everybody. Thanks, and we hope the wheel weaves you in our direction again soon.